Alright, folks, settle in. Let's talk about something that's holding too many of you back, something that's got its invisible chains wrapped around your biggest dreams. Imagine this, you wake up tomorrow, and that nagging voice of doubt, that icy grip of fear in your gut when you think about going big. It's not just quiet. It's gone. Vanished. Like a bad dream you can't quite recall. What would you do with that kind of freedom? What if you weren't afraid to ask for the raise, to start that business, to finally write that book, or tell that person how you truly feel? Think of Sarah, a single mom from Ohio I met a few years back. She had this incredible idea for a community-based childcare cooperative, something that would help hundreds of working parents. But for years, fear had her paralyzed. What if I fail? What if no one signs up? What if I'm just not cut out for this? That was fear's soundtrack playing on repeat. What if that track was wiped clean? What doors would you, like Sarah might have earlier, finally have the guts to kick down? What untamed, wildfire dreams would you chase with everything you've got? Because here's the honest truth, the kind your best friend tells you when you really need to hear it. Fear itself isn't the problem. It's waving the white flag to it. Fear? That's just your ancient wiring, your caveman brain going, hey, look out, it's a smoke alarm. But it only burns your house down when you let it call all the shots, when you treat its screams as gospel. Every time you listen to that you're not good enough, every time you sidestep a challenge instead of leaning into it, you're trading your power for a comfortable couch, your growth for a worn-out safety blanket. You're not weak. You've just been tricked into believing stillness is survival. But not anymore. Today, we're pulling the mask off this con artist. We're exposing fear for what it truly is, a campfire story meant to spook you, a shadow puppeteer making monsters on the wall. And we're not going to shoo it away with feel-good platitudes or some pop psychology band-aid. We're going to bury it deep with hard truths, with grit, with daily practice, and with a mission so damn big, your excuses won't even get a word in. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to stop being hunted by fear and start becoming the hunter. You'll learn how to plant your feet, even when your knees are knocking like a faulty engine, how to move before that icy paralysis sets in, and how to build a mindset so rock solid, so focused, that fear can't find a crack to seep into. So take a breath, a real one, deep into your belly. Step forward with me. Don't even glance in the rearview mirror. Because today, my friend, today is the day you take fear out behind the woodshed. Let's get one thing crystal clear. Fear isn't your nemesis. It's your natural-born bodyguard. It's that primal instinct that kept our ancestors from becoming saber-toothed tiger chow. It's done a pretty good job keeping you alive, right? But here's the kicker. Fear was never meant to be the CEO of your life. It was never meant to sit in the driver's seat, picking the route, controlling the radio. Yet, for so many folks, that's exactly what's happened. They hand fear the keys and then wonder why they're just driving in circles around the same damn block, never reaching the destinations they dream of. You feel that jolt of fear when you're about to try something new, something a little out there, something that rattles your cage of comfort. That's not a defect, that's your brain firing on all cylinders, doing its job. But here's the secret most people never get. It's not the fear itself that shuts you down. It's what you do, or rather don't do, because of it. Think about Mark, a talented graphic designer I know from Austin. He dreamed of going freelance, setting his own hours, working on projects he loved. He had the skills, the portfolio, the contacts. But every time he got close to handing in his notice, fear would whisper, what about a steady paycheck? What about health insurance? You'll be eating ramen for years. It wasn't the feeling of fear that was the problem. It was the pause. The resignation letter that stayed in the draft folder. The dream he kept putting on the someday pile. Most people are waiting for fear to magically evaporate before they make their move. They're waiting to feel like Superman before they try to leap. But that moment? It's a mirage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's looking fear square in the eye, giving it a nod, and then doing the damn thing anyway. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting at the station long after the train has left. The pioneers who crossed the plains, the entrepreneurs who built empires from their garages, the civil rights leaders who stood firm in the face of unimaginable hate. You think they weren't scared? They were terrified. But they moved forward anyway. That's the game changer. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to stop taking orders from fear like it's a 5-star general. Fear can ride shotgun, maybe even offer some often terrible directions, but it doesn't get to touch the steering wheel. Not anymore. And here's where it gets really powerful. Like flipping a switch, the more you bull rush through that fear, the smaller it looks in your rearview mirror. Every time you act when your stomach is in knots, you're retraining your brain. You're teaching it that fear doesn't mean emergency stop. It means, okay, this is important. This is where the good stuff happens. Pay attention, it's like building muscle. Repetition rewires your reality. The more you face down what scares you, the less power it has. I coached a young woman, Maria, who was petrified of public speaking. Her first presentation, her voice shook so much you could barely hear her. But she did it. Then she did another. Then another. Now, she commands rooms of hundreds, cool as a cucumber. Fear didn't just pack its bags, she evicted it. You become the kind of person fear can't stand to be around because you've trained yourself to act before it can even unpack its suitcase. So the next time that cold dread rises in your chest, remember, you don't need less fear, you need more action. Don't get stuck in your head, don't play out 1,000 bad endings, don't try to reason with it. Just move. Because fear hates momentum. The second you take that first step, fear starts to suffocate. Fear is a master storyteller, a Hollywood screenwriter of horror flicks starring you. It crafts these elaborate narratives of doom and gloom, so vivid, so emotionally charged, they feel like undeniable truth. But let me tell you, straight up, fear is a bald-faced liar. And the most damaging lies it whispers are the ones about you. You're not smart enough for that job. You're not charismatic enough to lead. You're not talented enough to pursue that art. If you try, you'll fall flat on your face, and everyone will see. And because this lying voice sounds like it's coming from inside your own head, you nod along. You buy the ticket to its terrible movie. You mistake its fiction for fact. Think about it. When you're dreading that tough conversation with your boss, you don't just feel a little nervous. Fear directs a whole mini-series in your mind. You see yourself stumbling over words, your boss frowning, maybe even getting fired and having to do the walk of shame past your colleagues. It's not just hesitation before launching your online store. It's a full-blown nightmare of zero sales, crushing debt, and the public humiliation of your failed venture. Fear takes a tiny seed of uncertainty and grows a giant, thorny forest of worst-case scenarios around it. That's how it wins. Not with logic, but by replaying its greatest hits until you're convinced they're your destiny. The more you hit repeat on that disaster reel in your mind, the more your body buys into it. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your breath gets shallow, your nervous system is screaming, danger. Retreat. Suddenly, you're not living in the here and now. You're trapped in some awful future that hasn't even auditioned for a role in reality. And from that panicked place, even tying your shoes feels like climbing Everest. But here's the game changer, the beautiful loophole. If fear can build its haunted house with repetition, so can you build your castle of confidence? If fear can tell a story, you can grab the pen and write a better one. One where you speak and people lean in. One where you take the leap and you soar. One where you stumble, get a little muddy, and then get right back up, stronger. Your mind, believe it or not, is a powerful but slightly gullible audience. It often can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined scenario and an actual memory. If you can visualize disaster, you can just as powerfully visualize triumph. If you can rehearse failure, you can damn well rehearse success. This is where the real battle is fought, my friend. Not out there in the world, but right between your ears. The moment you stop blindly accepting fear's script and start hitting delete and rewrite, you grab the steering wheel back. You don't need to feel brave to act brave. You don't need a permission slip from the universe to move forward. You just have to tell fear to take a seat, Because the voice in your head is powerful, but it's not always truthful. And the biggest lie it peddles? That fear is your limit. Bull. Fear is just a signpost. It's pointing saying, hey, growth opportunity this way. What happens next? That's all on you. Fear gets fat and happy in the dark, in the quiet corners where you avoid it. The more you sprint away from it, the bigger its shadow looms behind you. The more you try to outsmart it, to rationalize it away, the louder its taunts become. Because fear doesn't shrink with time, it shrinks with exposure. This is where so many people trip up. They're waiting for the courage fairy to bop them on the head before they'll take that leap of faith. They're waiting for the trembling to stop before they'll put one foot in front of the other. But courage doesn't show up before you act. It shows up because you act. I remember a kid, Timmy, in my old neighborhood, terrified of the high dive at the community pool. Every day, he'd walk up those steps, heart pounding, peer over the edge, and then shuffle back down, defeated. He'd dip his toe in the water, psych himself out. The fear just got bigger, didn't it? Then one day, his older sister, clearly fed up, gave him a little encouragement, a gentle shove. He screamed, he flailed. He hit the water with a splash that soaked half the sunbathers. And you know what? He came up sputtering, then laughing. The terror was gone. Why? He'd experienced what his mind had blown up into a monster. That's exposure. It's not about being some kind of fearless robot. It's about being willing to feel that cold dread crawl up your spine and still take the step. It's about looking uncertainty right in its shifty eyes and saying, you're not the boss of me. You're just the warm-up act. This is how you stare fear down until it blinks. Not by running, but by deliberately, systematically, walking toward the things that make your palms sweat. You practice the uncomfortable until it becomes familiar. And the more familiar it gets, the less of a chokehold it has on you. Speak up in that meeting even if your voice cracks like an old record. Show up for that audition even if your hands are shaking so hard you could churn butter. Launch that imperfect first version of your product. Ask that scary question you've been avoiding. That's the training ground. That's where you forge your steel. Because repetition doesn't just build habits, it rewires your very reality. The first time you do something terrifying, it feels like walking through fire. The second time, it's just uncomfortably hot. The 10th time, it's routine. And the 100th time? That's freedom, my friend. The people you look up to, the speakers who own the stage, the leaders who inspire movements, the innovators who change industries, the athletes who break records, they didn't start out brave. They started out scared, just like you. The only difference? They refused to let scared be their permanent address. They built up a tolerance for discomfort, like a calloused hand. They didn't run from the storm, they learned to dance in the rain, again and again, until the thunder was just background music. The truth is, the fear might never completely pack up and leave town. But you get to a point where you stop jumping every time it clears its throat. You stop shrinking when it puffs out its chest. You've faced it down enough times to know it's mostly bluster, a signal, not a sentence. And it sure as hell doesn't get the final say. You do. The only way out is through. Straight through the trembling, through the mess-ups, through the doubt. You walk right into that storm, not because you're unafraid, but because you know that on the other side of that fear lies the life you haven't dared to live yet. And that, my friend, is a prize worth fighting for. If you truly want to dismantle fear, you've got to go to its headquarters, your mind. Because fear doesn't sprout in the world around you. It's cultivated in the soil of your thoughts. It's in those silent, unexamined stories you tell yourself on repeat, stories of I'm not enough, it's too risky, what if I look stupid? These little narratives play like a broken record, day in and day out, shaping your reality before you even realize what's happening. And here's a dose of tough love. If you don't actively train your thoughts will absolutely train you. Left to its own devices, your mind can become a playground for anxiety, a battlefield where fear always seems to hold the high ground. But you weren't put on this earth to be a puppet dancing to fear's tune. You're here to take back the reins, to grab the pen from fear's hand, and to write a new, more empowering script for your life. And it all starts with this simple, yet earth-shattering, realization. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You're the gatekeeper, the programmer, the one who decides which thoughts get VIP access and which ones get bounced at the door. So when that sneaky voice of fear whispers, "You're not ready for this promotion," you don't just roll over and accept it. You challenge it. You talk back. "Oh yeah. Says who? What's your evidence, fear?" When it mutters, "You'll probably fail if you try to start that podcast," you counter with, "Maybe. Or maybe I'll knock it out of the park. And even if I stumble, I'll learn something invaluable." You flip the script. You interrupt its tired old pattern. Because every thought is like a seed. Water the seeds of fear and you'll harvest a garden of hesitation and regret. But what if you started watering seeds of courage? What if you intentionally, relentlessly, flooded your mind with powerful, disciplined thoughts? Then boldness starts to feel like your default setting. This isn't about some fluffy, see no evil positivity. This is about strategic mental conditioning. Think about it. Michael Jordan didn't just show up and become the GOAT. He trained his body and his mind with ferocious intensity. Navy SEALs don't just wander into battle. They drill their reflexes and their resolve until they're razor sharp. Musicians don't just pick up an instrument and play symphonies. They practice scales until their fingers bleed. You must train your mind with the same dedication. Use affirmations that hammer home your worth. I am capable. I am resilient. I thrive under pressure. Visualize your success with such clarity that it feels like a memory. Repeat these new truths until greatness feels less like a distant dream and more like your current address. Tell yourself what you want to believe and keep telling yourself. Keep acting on it until it becomes who you are. I am calm and resourceful when challenged. I see fear as a signal to step up, not step back. I don't shrink from difficulty. I expand to meet it. These aren't just pretty words. They are direct commands to your subconscious, and trust me, that part of you is always listening, always recording. And don't just think these new thoughts, live them. Let your actions be the living proof of your new identity. Your mind learns by watching what you do. So when you volunteer for that tough project, when you make that call you've been dreading, when you speak your truth even though your voice is shaking, your brain takes note. I see. We do hard things now. We face challenges head on. That's how you rewrite your internal operating system. That's how fear loses its iron grip. You're not weak for having fear. We all do. But you stay weak if you let it run the show. Discipline your inner world. Take command of your thoughts, and watch how the outer world starts to reflect that newfound strength. Guard your mind like Fort Knox. Interrupt the lies, install the truth. And remember, you always have a choice. Fear might knock on your door, but it doesn't get to move in and redecorate unless you hand over the keys. Train your mind or be trained by fear. The choice, my friend, is always yours. What if fear wasn't a big red stop sign, but more like a blinking yellow light, a signal to proceed with awareness? What if that very thing that makes your stomach clench, that thing you're desperately trying to avoid, is precisely the thing you're meant to confront? You see, most people interpret fear as danger. Turn back. Do not pass go, but in my experience, more often than not, fear is actually a compass. It's pointing directly towards the edge of your current comfort zone. And guess what? That edge, that's where all the magic happens. That's where growth lives. That tightness in your chest when you think about asking for what you deserve, that flutter in your stomach before you step onto a stage, that quickening pulse when you're about to hit send on a bold proposal, that's not your weakness showing. That's life itself, thrumming through you, reminding you that you're standing at a crossroads, a moment of consequence. That's your spirit waking up, recognizing a chance to level up. Because, invariably, the things that scare you the most are the very things that will stretch you, mold you, and ultimately, make you more you. Giving that keynote speech, launching that passion project, ending that relationship that's been draining your soul, stepping fully into your God-given purpose. These aren't just boogeymen in the closet. They're doorways to a bigger, bolder life. And the key to unlocking them? It's not waiting for perfection. It's not needing absolute certainty. It's just movement. One foot in front of the other, straight into the heart of what makes you tremble. Courage isn't the absence of fear, folks. I've said it before, and I'll say it 1,000 times more. Courage is the conscious decision to move in the presence of fear. So when fear rears its head, don't instinctively recoil. Don't shrink. Lean into it. Lean towards that fire. Let it temper your steel. Let it burn away the dross, the excuses, the self-doubt. Let it become your fuel. That resistance you feel? That's a good sign. It means you're pushing against something. You're getting close to a breakthrough, close to your calling, close to your next evolution. And let me share a little secret that the world doesn't often talk about. The fear never completely vanishes. Not for the truly brave, not for the wildly successful, not for the legends whose names we remember. I've coached CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, world champion athletes, and artists who fill stadiums. They still feel fear. The butterflies still flutter. The doubt still whispers. But they've made a kind of peace with it. They've learned to walk with it, to dance with it, to keep putting one foot in front of the other even when their legs feel like jelly. That's what truly makes them fearless. Not that they feel nothing, but that they refuse to be owned by what they feel. So the next time fear taps you on the shoulder, acknowledge it. Hey, fear! I see you. Thanks for the input, and then take that step. Make that call. Hit publish. Say yes. Say no. Say the damn thing that scares you. The moment you lean into the fire, something shifts. The fear begins to recede, to lose its sharp edges. And what's left in its place? Freedom. Pure, exhilarating freedom. Here's a truth that'll chap some hides, but it needs saying. You will not magically become fearless by sitting around, hoping to feel brave someday. You don't conquer fear with good intentions or warm, fuzzy feelings. You conquer fear with cold, hard, unglamorous discipline. Motivation? That's like a firework, dazzling, exciting, gets you all fired up, but then it's gone. Poof! Discipline, my friends, that's the pilot light. That's the slow, steady burn. It's the engine that powers every truly fearless life I've ever witnessed. Because when you train yourself to act, not when the mood strikes you, not when the stars align, but when it needs to be done, you become a force of nature. You become unstoppable. Courage isn't some mythical lightning bolt that zaps you from above. It's a decision. A choice you make, often hundreds of times a day. It's the daily commitment to show up, to do the work that makes you uncomfortable, to lean into that feeling of resistance again and again and again. Especially when every fiber of your being is screaming for the familiar comfort of safety. That's the code the greats live by. They don't wait for confidence to arrive like a guest. They act, and confidence, seeing the party has already started, rushes to catch up. They don't sit around waiting for the fear to evaporate. They do the damn thing anyway, and fear, realizing it's not welcome, eventually learns to keep its distance. Discipline has a way of silencing fear because it takes negotiation off the table. There's no more internal debate, no more should I or shouldn't I. The decision has already been made. The alarm clock rings at 5 a.m. for that workout. You don't hit snooze, you rise. The project looks like a mountain? You don't stare at it, you take the first step. That nagging voice of doubt whispers its usual BS. You acknowledge it and keep walking forward anyway. That's discipline in action. And that, my friends, is how the fearless are forged. You see, the more you consistently act in the face of fear, the more you are literally rewiring the circuitry of your brain. You're conditioning it to understand that fear is not necessarily a red alert for imminent danger. Often, it's just data. And data doesn't control you, it informs you. So ask yourself honestly, are you living your life based on fleeting feelings, or are you living by unwavering principles? If fear is still the one calling the shots, dictating your schedule and limiting your options, then it's time for a fundamental shift. Build rituals, not just routines, that fortify your mind. I knew a Green Beret, tough as nails. Every morning, first thing, he'd do something that sucked: ice bath, brutal workout. He said it ate fear for breakfast. Surround yourself with tangible reminders of your vision. A vision board sounds cheesy to some, but I've seen it work miracles. Keep the promises you make to yourself, no matter how small. One small act of courage, compounded daily, creates an unstoppable momentum. You'll wake up one day and barely remember why you ever let fear sit in the driver's seat. Discipline makes you consistent, and consistency over time makes your success almost inevitable. I want you to do something for me. Close your eyes for a moment. Really? Picture yourself years from now lying on your deathbed. It's quiet. Your time is nearly up. And around you, it's not just your loved ones or the memories of a life well lived. It's also the ghosts. The ghosts of all the dreams you chickened out on. The risks you didn't take because you were scared. The untapped potentials, the bolder, brighter versions of you that could have been, if only. And they're all looking at you, not with anger, but with a profound, heartbreaking sadness, asking one silent question: why? Why did you let fear make your decisions for you? You see, fear doesn't just steal your joy in the moment. It robs you of your legacy. It whispers sweet nothings about safety and convinces you to play small, to blend in, to sit quietly in the corner when you were born to stand on the damn table and declare your truth. But what if you truly, deeply understood the price you pay for that comfort? What if you could fast forward and see the vibrant, impactful future that fear is stealthily pickpocketing from you, one maybe later at a time? Because that's the brutal reality most folks never confront. They think they're choosing safety, familiarity, the path of least resistance. But what they're actually doing is burying their unique greatness under a mountain of well-intentioned excuses. They're trading a life of purpose for a life of quiet desperation. They're swapping an indelible legacy for a fleeting sense of security. Let me be absolutely, unequivocally clear: nobody builds monuments to the person who played it safe. No one writes epic poems about the man who always chose comfort over courage. The history books don't remember the woman who consistently avoided failure at all costs. The world is changed, inspired, and moved forward by those who were scared spitless and did it anyway. By those who felt the tremor in their voice but spoke their truth. By those whose knees knocked but who still stepped into the arena. By those who saw the odds stacked against them and said, "Watch me." Fear will always offer you a cozy little cell of comfort. But legacy? Legacy demands you break out. It demands you embrace the suck. It demands discomfort, sacrifice, risk. It demands that you look in the mirror and decide, once and for all, what matters more, the fleeting opinions of the crowd, or the unshakable respect you'll have for yourself when your time on this earth is drawing to a close. So ask yourself, right here, right now, what story will your life tell when you're gone? Will it be a faint whisper of missed opportunities and unspoken regrets? Or will it be a thundering roar, the anthem of someone who chose purpose over paralysis, bold action over timid avoidance, raw courage over counterfeit comfort? You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just need to refuse, from this day forward, to let fear write the final chapter. Because your legacy is being etched with every choice you make. And only one version ends with you truly, authentically, and magnificently free. If fear is a professional liar, then your daily routine is the unwavering truth teller. Because it's not just some airy-fairy mindset shift that slays the dragon of fear. It's consistent, gritty, get your hands dirty movement. It's not about one grandiose act of heroism that makes the highlight reel. It's about the small, unsexy, daily habits that slowly, methodically, turn courage into your default setting, like breathing. The truly fearless people I know, they weren't born with an extra bravery gene. They were forged in the fires of discipline. And every single day, they perform these little rituals that suffocate fear before it even gets a chance to clear its throat. Want a game plan? Start here. First thing every morning, Do something that makes you uncomfortable. I'm not talking about jumping out of a plane before your coffee. I'm talking about something small but edgy. Take a 30-second cold shower. Make that sales call you've been dreading. Have that honest but awkward conversation. Write for 15 minutes on that project you're scared to start. Why? Because your nervous system is like a muscle. It needs to be trained. When you systematically teach your body to handle discomfort, to even lean into it, fear starts to lose its fangs. It realizes you're not going to flinch anymore. Second, move your body. Seriously. Whether it's pumping iron like a beast, hitting the pavement for a run, or even just a brisk walk around the block, motion kills stagnation. And stagnation is fear's favorite breeding ground. It loves it when you're stuck, overthinking, marinating in your own anxieties. When you move your body, you change your physiology. Your brain chemistry shifts. Confidence naturally rises. Clarity cuts through the mental fog. Energy surges. Fear finds it damn hard to take root in a body that's in dynamic motion. Third, speak power into your own mind. People dismiss affirmations as corny. They're not. They're declarations of war against your own self-limiting beliefs. The thoughts you consciously rehearse are the beliefs that will eventually steer your life. So every morning, stand tall, shoulders back, chin up, look yourself in the eye and speak your truth. I am not defined by fear. I am not here to play small. I am a leader. I am resilient. I take inspired action. Say it like you mean it. Say it until you feel it in your bones. Then go out and act in a way that makes those words undeniably true. Fourth, win the first battle of the day. What's that mean? Make your bed. Show up to that early meeting on time, prepared. Finish that small task you'd rather procrastinate on. Why? Because when you start your day with a win, however minor, fear loses a tiny piece of its territory. And when you stack those small wins, one on top of the other, day after day, you build this incredible momentum. And momentum, my friend, is what makes the seemingly impossible start to feel downright inevitable. Lastly, at the end of each day, take 5 minutes to reflect. Ask yourself, where did fear try to whisper its lies to me today? And where, specifically, did I push back? Where did I choose action over anxiety? This isn't about beating yourself up. This is how you refine your strategy. This is how you get sharper, more attuned, more unshakable. You become impervious to fear not by running from it, but by engaging with it, learning its tactics, and systematically dismantling its power again and again until it breaks long before you do. The fearless life isn't an accident that happens to a lucky few. It is meticulously crafted, with unwavering intention, with relentless repetition, and with a ruthless respect for your own potential. If you want to kill fear, stop waiting to feel brave. Train for bravery. Build bravery. Practice bravery, one bold, imperfect, messy action at a time. Today, we're not just having a chat about fear. We're conducting its funeral. We're laying it to rest. Because the ultimate truth is this: fear shrivels and dies when you stop feeding it your attention. When you stop bowing down to its imagined authority, when you finally realize, deep in your core, that it has no real power over you, only the power you've mistakenly, habitually given it. And from this very moment forward, you are taking every last ounce of that power back. No more waiting for the right time, no more hesitating at the edge of your own greatness. No more shrinking yourself to fit into the cramped, comfortable boxes defined by others, or by the tired old lies of your past. You were not born to live a beige life. You were not designed to tiptoe through your years, constantly looking over your shoulder, trying to avoid any hint of danger or discomfort. You were built to walk through fire and emerge forged, stronger, brighter, and more resilient than before. So this is it. This is your line in the sand. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready, because that day may never come if you wait for the feeling. Now! Right now, you bury the fear. You silence the doubt. You take that first audacious step. And then another. And then another. until you look back and barely remember what it felt like to be a prisoner of your own hesitation. And when fear dares to show its face again, and it always will, that's its job, you won't flinch. You'll smile. Maybe even give it a little wink. Because now you know its playbook. You've studied its tricks. You've outlasted its tantrums. You've trained your mind, your body, and your spirit to walk forward anyway, with or without its reluctant permission. Fear doesn't get a vote in your future anymore. Only your vision does. Only your mission does. Only your highest, truest self gets to call the shots. So stand up, right where you are. Straighten your spine. Pull your shoulders back. Lift your chin. And look that old specter of fear in the eye one last time. Say, thank you. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for showing me where my edges were. Thank you for the motivation to grow. And now, goodbye, because you are done. Done letting fear decide who you get to be, what you get to do, how brightly you get to shine. This is your time now. You are fearless not because fear is absent, but because you chose to be. But hold on, we're not done yet. This is just breaking ground. In our next session, we're going to dive deep into building that skyscraper of unshakable confidence, not in theory, but with practical, actionable strategies you can implement every single day. You faced down the fear, now it's time to build the warrior within. Thank you, truly, for taking this journey with me today. If this hit home, if it sparked something in you, do me a favor, hit that like button, drop a comment below, and tell me the first fearless step you're going to take. And make sure you subscribe and ring that bell, because while fear might be in your rearview mirror, your most powerful future, it's just getting started. That next level version of you, the one who never hesitates, never retreats, the one who lives life full out. They're waiting for you. Let's go meet them.